The message came on a Tuesday, just a normal Tuesday in 2057, until it wasn't. Tae-sung sat in his lab, eyes fixed on the screen. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. The data didn't make sense. Nothing about this made sense. Dr. Kim called Ji-woo from across the room. "You need to see this." Tae-sung pushed back from his desk. As lead cynobiologist for the Global Response Initiative, strange readings were part of his job. But these weren't just strange. They were impossible. "The readings got stronger," said Ji-woo, pointing to her screen. "Whatever these things are, they're huge, bigger than blue whales. And they're in our upper atmosphere." Tae-sung asked, rubbing his tired eyes. "Yes, 23 of them. And they're slowing down." The lab phone rang. Tae-sung answered it, his face growing paler with each word. He hung up and turned to his team. "The president is calling an emergency meeting. All department heads. Now." The meeting room was packed with the world's top minds. Military leaders sat next to scientists. Government officials whispered to each other. Tae-sung and Ji-woo sat quietly, their data tablets ready. General Han stood at the front of the room. "At 600 hours, we received the first direct alien transmission in human history." The room went silent. "Play it," ordered the president. The speakers crackled. A deep voice, somehow both mechanical and organic, filled the room. "Your farm worlds are forfeit. Prepare for harvest." Ji-woo shivered. Tae-sung placed a steadying hand on her arm. "Since then," continued General Han, 23 biological entities have entered Earth's atmosphere. They are slowing down and appear to be targeting major agricultural regions. Tae-sung raised his hand. "General, our readings show these entities are living organisms, but they're too big to be naturally evolved creatures." "What are you suggesting, Dr. Kim?" "They're engineered. Bioweapons, perhaps, and based on their trajectory." He pulled up a map on the main screen. Red dots showed the predicted landing sites. American farmlands, Ukrainian wheat fields, the rice paddies of China. "They're targeting our food supply," said the president, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "We've tried further communication," said the communications director. They responded only once more. He played the recording. "Resistance is noted. Resistance is futile. Your soil has been claimed." Then static. Outside the meeting room, the world still turned. People went to work. Children played in parks. No one knew yet. In his small apartment, Do-hyun checked on his plants. The grandson of farmers, he kept a little piece of his heritage even in the city. His phone buzzed. A message from his father. "Come home. Now." Do-hyun frowned. His family's farm was 4 hours away. His father never texted like this. He called back. No answer. The TV in the corner suddenly switched to an emergency broadcast. The president's face filled the screen. "My fellow citizens, today Earth has made first contact with an alien species." Do-hyun dropped his phone. Tae-sung and Ji-woo stood on the roof of the research center, special goggles protecting their eyes as they looked up. "There," pointed Ji-woo. 23 fiery streaks crossed the sky. Not meteors, not ships. Living things. "They're entering the troposphere," said Tae-sung into his radio. "Impact in approximately 10 minutes. All agricultural areas have been evacuated," came the reply. "Military forces are in position." One of the streaks changed course slightly, then another. They were steering themselves. "They're not just falling," whispered Ji-woo. "They're aiming." Tae-sung's phone rang. A new data alert. He looked at the screen and felt his blood freeze. The biological signatures. They're changing. Whatever these things are, they're transforming as they descend. The first impact came with a sound like thunder, even hundreds of miles away. They felt the ground shake. One by one, the streaks disappeared below the horizon. The last one, aimed at the Korean peninsula, left a trail of green mist in its wake. Tai Sung's radio exploded with voices, reports of massive craters, strange structures emerging from impact sites, acid rain near the crash zones. "What are they?" asked Jiwoo, her voice small against the chaos. Tai Sung looked at the early images coming in on his tablet. Massive forms unfolding from steaming craters, towering shapes with too many limbs. Living weapons rising from the earth they had just scared. "They're bio-titans," he said, "and they've come for our farms." Do Hyun's car sputtered to a stop at the roadblock. Armed soldiers waved people back. "No entry," a soldier said. "All farmland within 50 miles is under quarantine." "My family is in there," Do Hyun said, voice shaking. "Our farm has been there for 5 generations." The soldier's face softened. "I'm sorry. Nobody goes in." A deep rumble shook the ground. Over the hills, something massive moved, something that should not exist. Do Hyun slipped away when the soldiers turned to look. He ran through the woods he played in as a child. He had to reach his family. Tae Sung watched the video feeds in horror. The pod that had crashed in Iowa had split open like a giant egg. What came out stood 30 stories high. "Are we sure this footage is real?" asked the president. "Yes," Tae Sung said. "All 23 landing sites report the same. The bio-titans are fully formed and moving." On the screen, the creature looked like a walking mountain. Its skin was hard and black, like the shell of a beetle. 6 massive legs carried it forward, crushing everything in its path. Where it walked, the ground sizzled and smoked. "Our jets are in position," General Han said. "Permission to engage." The president nodded. "Take them down." Do Hyun reached the edge of his family's farm just as fighter jets screamed overhead. In the distance stood the thing that had fallen from the sky. It towered over the farmhouse, bigger than any building Do Hyun had ever seen. Its body glistened with slime that dripped onto the crops below. Where the slime touched, plants withered and died. The jets fired missiles. Explosions rocked the bio-titan's side. It barely seemed to notice. Then it turned one of its eyes, each as big as a truck, toward the sky. A spray of green liquid shot from the creature. A jet flew through it and began to melt, metal and all. The pilot ejected just in time. Do Hyun ran faster. "Conventional weapons aren't working," Jiwoo reported, updating the data board. "The bio-titans have some sort of acid defense system." "What about their purpose?" asked Tai Sung. "Why target farmland specifically?" New images appeared on screen. The bio-titans were not just destroying farms. They were taking samples. Long tentacles dug into the soil, pulling up clumps of earth into pouches on their bodies. "They're harvesting," Tai Sung realized, "not just destroying." His phone rang. A researcher in China. "Kim, you need to see this. The soil where these things touched. Nothing will grow there now. Not even bacteria survive." Do Hyun found his father's truck on its side near the barn. No sign of his parents. The farmhouse door hung open. "Dad? Mom?" he called, rushing inside. The house was empty, but not abandoned. Half-eaten breakfast sat on the table. His father's jacket still hung by the door. A family photo lay broken on the floor. Do Hyun picked it up, cutting his finger on the glass. Outside, the bio-titan moved closer. Its footsteps made the house shake. Do Hyun ran to his grandfather's study and yanked open the old safe hidden behind a painting. Inside was the family's most precious possession, their seed vault. For generations, his family had preserved seeds from their best crops. Some varieties existed nowhere else. The ground shook harder. Through the window, Do Hyun saw a massive leg crush the barn as if it were made of paper. He stuffed the seed packets into his backpack. As he turned to leave, he saw a note in his father's handwriting pinned to the wall. "Shelter in town. Take the seeds. They are our future." 1 week after the landing, Tai Sung presented his findings to what remained of the world's leadership. The Biotitans are continuing their methodical destruction of Earth's farmland, he said. At the current rate, 40% of our arable land will be contaminated within 3 months. And our weapons? Asked General Han. Still ineffective. The creatures regenerate faster than we can damage them. Jaiwu stepped forward. We did find something interesting, though. When a small piece of one Biotitan was cut off by heavy artillery, it didn't regenerate. We've captured this tissue sample, Tai Sung added. It may be our only hope of finding a weakness. As they spoke, screens around the room showed Biotitans marching across the world's breadbaskets, destroying humanity's ability to feed itself one step at a time. The age of farms was ending. The age of hunger was beginning. 3 months passed. The world changed. In cities everywhere, food lines stretched for blocks. Fields that once grew wheat and corn now lay dead, covered in a toxic slime that nothing could clean. Tai Sung hadn't slept properly in weeks. His lab had become his home. The small piece of Biotitan tissue sat in a sealed container before him. Anything new? Jiwoo asked, bringing him a cup of weak tea. Coffee had become too expensive. Maybe, Tai Sung said. Look at how the cells react to this soil sample. Jaiwu peered through the microscope. The tissue cells were pulling away from the dirt. They don't like it, she said. Not just that. They're dying. Ta Sung showed her the data. This soil has a type of bacteria that's toxic to them. Jaiwu's eyes widened. Where is this soil from? An old farm in Jeju that hasn't used chemical fertilizers in over 100 years. For the first time in months, they smiled. The emergency shelter was crowded and smelled of too many unwashed bodies. Do-hyun sat on his cot, carefully checking each seed packet. He had to make sure they stayed dry and safe. A voice came over the loudspeaker. Do-hyun Lee, please report to the administration office. Do-hyun packed away his seeds and walked through the noisy shelter. People whispered as he passed. Everyone knew his story. The farmer's son who escaped with nothing but a backpack full of seeds. At the office, a woman in a military uniform waited. Mr. Lee, I'm Captain Sun McKang. The science team in Seoul would like to speak with you. Why me? Do-hyun asked. Because you're the only person who grabbed seeds before running. Jiwoo studied the alien message patterns on her screen. After 3 months of trying, they had finally broken the code. They call themselves the Harvesters, she told Tae-sung. They've done this before, to dozens of worlds. What's their goal? They destroy a planet's ability to grow food, then force surrender. The people become workers for them, mining resources. She switched to another screen. But that's not all. Look at these transmissions. They're surprised by something. Tae-sung read the decoded message. Earth resistance stronger than projected. Soil composition unexpected. They didn't expect us to fight so hard, Jiwoo said. Or maybe, Tai-sung said slowly, they didn't expect our soil to be different. Do-hyun arrived at the research facility with his precious backpack. Armed guards escorted him to a lab deep underground. Tai-sung greeted him warmly. Thank you for coming, Mr. Lee. Your seeds might be more valuable than you know. They're my family's legacy, Do-hyun said. 5 generations of careful growing and saving. My grandfather taught me that good farming means listening to the soil. Tai-sung nodded. And that's exactly what we need to understand. He explained their discovery about the bacteria toxic to the Biotitans. Do-hyun listened carefully, then opened his backpack. My grandfather kept records of everything that grew well in our soil. He pulled out a worn notebook, and seeds from plants that fought off diseases no other farms could handle. Jagwoo took the notebook and flipped through pages of careful handwriting. This is incredible. Your grandfather tracked soil health for decades. Do-hyun nodded. He always said modern farms were too clean. That soil needs its tiny helpers, bacteria, fungi, worms, to be truly alive. Tai-sung's eyes lit up. That's it. The harvesters expect dead soil. soil killed by chemicals and overfarming. But traditional farming methods keep the soil alive. And some of those living things can kill biotitans, Ju-woo added. A soldier burst into the lab. Dr. Kim, the biotitan is down. On screens around the world, people watched footage of a massive biotitan lying motionless in a field in Ukraine. It just collapsed, the field reporter said. Scientists are moving in now to study it. In the lab, Tae-sung received the first reports. The field where it fell has been farmed using traditional methods for generations. No chemicals, no big machines. Just like my grandfather's farm, Do-hyun said quietly. Je-woo looked up from her computer. I found something else in their communications. The harvesters have a hive mind. They're all connected. Tae-sung turned to Do-hyun. If we can find the right bacteria in your seeds, we might be able to create more than just a weapon. We might create a plague for them. Do-hyun looked at his small bag of seeds. Could the future of humanity really rest in these tiny specks? Let's get to work, he said. The world's cities were now packed with people who had nowhere else to go. Their farms were lost. Their homes were gone. Captain Sunma stood at the edge of the military base, watching trucks bring in more refugees. 6 months ago, she had been a normal soldier. Now she led special teams into dangerous areas. Her radio crackled. Captain Kang, they're ready for you in the meeting room. Sunma walked quickly through the base. Soldiers saluted her. They all knew what she had done, led 3 missions into biotitan zones, and returned alive each time. In the underground lab, Tae-sung pointed to a map showing red zones covering much of the world's farmland. The military is holding them back, but they can't kill the biotitans, he said. Meanwhile, food stocks are running low everywhere. General Han nodded grimly. My troops can keep the titans contained, but for how long? People are already hungry. That's why we need to try our plan, said Ju-woo. We've found 4 types of bacteria that harm the biotitans. We need to spread them in the red zones. How? Asked General Han. Those areas are death traps. Tae-sung looked at Do-hyun. Tell them your idea. Do-hyun stood up. 5 months ago, he had been just a young man who liked plants. Now he was in a room with generals and scientists. He took a deep breath. We plant crops, he said simply. Special crops that feed the right bacteria and spread them through the soil. Farming. General Han looked shocked. You want to farm in biotitan territory. Not just any farming, Do-hyun explained. We use methods my grandfather taught me. Methods that work with the soil's natural life. Tae-sung added, the biotitans are avoiding areas with these soil bacteria. If we can grow them in enough places, we can push the titans back. It's too dangerous, said General Han. No one would survive out there long enough to plant anything. Captain Sunma stepped forward. My team would. 2 weeks later, Sunma led her team toward the edge of the red zone. All of them wore special suits to protect against the biotitan acid. Stay low and move fast, she told her soldiers. Our job is simple. Protect the planters. Behind her soldiers came 5 people carrying backpacks full of special seeds. Do-hyun walked with them, teaching as they moved. Don't just drop seeds, he said. You have to feel the soil, check its wetness. Farming isn't just planting, it's caring. One of the planters, a young woman who had lost her family farm in the first attack, nodded. My grandmother said the same thing. Do-hyun smiled. These were his people, farmers who understood land the way others understood books or computers. In the distance, a biotitan moved slowly across a dead cornfield. Its long legs left smoking holes in the ground. It had not seen the humans yet. There's our first target, Sunma said, pointing to a field near a small stream. The soil there is still good. She turned to her soldiers. 3 hours. That's how long we need to hold this position while they plant. The soldiers checked their weapons. These guns wouldn't kill a biotitan, but they could hurt it enough to keep it away. For Earth, Sunma said simply. Her team nodded. The first farm resistance mission was just the beginning. Over the next month, teams went out every night. They moved quietly into red zones across the world, planting special seeds in soil that had once grown food for humans. Some teams never came back. Others returned with fewer members than they left with, but they all planted their seeds. Tai-sung watched the data come in from his lab. Each planted area was marked on his map with a tiny green dot. There weren't many yet, but they were growing. Will it be enough? Ji-woo asked, looking at the small green dots surrounded by large red zones. It has to be. Tai-sung said, this isn't just about killing biotitans. It's about reclaiming our world. Do-hyun walked through the underground farm they had built in an old parking garage. Here they grew the special seeds that the teams took out to plant. The plants looked normal: corn, wheat, and vegetables of all kinds. But they were special. They had been grown from his family's seeds and changed by Tae-sung's team to help the bacteria that hurt biotitans. He touched a corn leaf gently. My grandfather was right, he whispered. Seeds are the future. Above him, hidden by layers of concrete and dirt, a biotitan walked over the city, never knowing that its end was growing right under its feet. 6 months after the first seeds were planted, something remarkable happened. Plants began to grow in the dead zones. Tae-sung stood at the edge of what had once been a contaminated area, now showing small green sprouts. The special plants were not just surviving. They were cleaning the soil. It's working, he said into his radio. The bacteria levels are increasing exactly as we hoped. Back at the lab, Ji-woo monitored satellite images. We have growth in 64% of the planted zones, she reported. The healthy areas are spreading. Do-hyun knelt and touched the small green shoots. These were the children of his family's seeds, now changed to help save the world. My grandfather would be proud, he whispered. In orbit above Earth, the Harvester command ship detected the change. Something was wrong with their biotitans. Something was fighting back. The ship sent new orders. More pods began to fall toward Earth. Sunmei was leading her team back from a planting mission when she saw the fiery streaks in the sky. Take cover, she shouted. The team ran for shelter as new pods crashed into the ground miles away. The earth shook with each impact. They're sending reinforcements, Sunmai said grimly. She grabbed her radio. Base, this is Captain Kang. We have new arrivals. I count 6 pods. Get back here now. General Han's voice crackled over the radio. All teams are being recalled. As Sunmai and her team hurried back toward their transport, a sound made them freeze. A deep, pained roar echoed across the land. What was that? Asked one of the soldiers. Sunmai pointed to the distance where a biotitan was moving strangely. It seemed to be limping. That, she said with a small smile, is the sound of our plants working. In the emergency meeting room, world leaders watched the footage. The first biotitan is showing clear signs of illness, Tai-sung explained. It's happening faster than we expected. And the new arrivals? Asked the president. 6 more pods landed yesterday. 3 in Asia, 2 in North America, 1 in Europe, reported General Han. But these aren't the same as before. He showed new images. These biotitans were different, smaller but faster, with more weapons. They've adapted, said Ji-woo. They know something is hurting them, so they sent a new version. Can our plants still work against these new ones? Asked the president. Do-hyun nodded. The basic biology is the same. The bacteria should still affect them. We just need to grow more, faster. How long until we see results? General Han asked. The first crops are nearly mature, Tai-sung said. When they release their pollen, the bacteria will spread through the air. That's when we'll see the biggest impact. Around the world, farmers joined the resistance. People who had lost everything to the biotitans now worked to grow the special seeds. In hidden fields and underground farms, crops grew under artificial lights. Each plant was a weapon, each seed a bullet in humanity's fight back. Do-hyun traveled between these secret farms, teaching the old ways his grandfather had shown him. Talk to your plants, he told them. They listen. They grow stronger when they know they're needed. Some farmers laughed at this. Others took his words to heart. The first mature crop was ready for harvest near what had once been Du Hyun's family farm. The golden wheat swayed in the breeze, looking like any normal crop. But it wasn't normal. It was humanity's best hope. Sun Mei and her team secured the area. No bio-titans were visible, but everyone was nervous. The pollen needs to spread today, Tai Sung said, checking his equipment. The winds are perfect. As they worked, a shadow fell over them. The bio-titan had arrived, drawn by the living plants in a dead zone. Everyone get down, Sun Mei shouted, raising her weapon. But Du Hyun stood tall among his crops. No, let it come closer. The massive creature loomed over the field. One of its legs came down just meters from Du Hyun. The ground shook. The bio-titan lowered its huge head, as if curious about these plants that dared to grow in its territory. Then something amazing happened. The wheat released its pollen in a great golden cloud that covered the bio-titan's leg. The creature made a sound, not a roar, but a high-pitched scream that hurt their ears. It pulled back its leg, but too late. The pollen stuck to its wet skin. Before their eyes, the leg began to bubble and steam where the pollen touched. The bio-titan turned and moved away quickly, but it was already limping. The farm has struck back, Du Hyun said, watching the creature retreat. Tai Sung's radio buzzed with messages from around the world. More crops were ready. More pollen was about to fly. The tide was turning. The news spread faster than the pollen. A bio-titan had fallen. Not just hurt, not just sick, fallen. It happened near what was once Du Hyun's family farm. The massive creature simply stopped moving, then slowly tipped over like a falling tree. The ground shook for miles when it hit. Du Hyun stood before the fallen giant. Even lying down, it was taller than most buildings. Its black skin was now covered in green spots where the bacteria had eaten through. We need samples, Tai Sung said, his team already cutting pieces from the dead creature. This is our first complete specimen. Du Hyun wasn't listening. He was looking at the soil beneath the fallen bio-titan. Green shoots were already pushing up through the dirt. Life returning. Grandfather was right, he whispered. Death feeds new life. In the command center, Ji Woo showed the latest satellite images to General Han and the president. We've confirmed 12 bio-titans are showing signs of illness, she said. And look at this. She pointed to green patches spreading across land that had been dead for months. The farm resistance is working, she said, not just killing bio-titans but healing the soil too. What about the new bio-titans? Asked General Han. The smaller, faster ones. They're harder to infect, Ji Woo admitted, but not impossible. We just need more exposure. The president looked thoughtful. How many farmers have joined the resistance now? Thousands, Ji Woo said. People from every country with any farming knowledge are volunteering. They want their land back. Sun Mi's team had grown from 20 soldiers to over 100. Now they protected farmers in 5 different growing zones. Today they were guarding a rice field in what used to be China. Movement to the east. Her radio crackled. 2 bio-titans headed this way. Sun Mi watched through binoculars as the creatures moved toward them. One was a massive original model. The other was one of the new, smaller types. How long until harvest? She asked the head farmer. The rice is ready now, said the old man. We were waiting for the right wind. Sun Mi looked at the sky. The wind was blowing away from them, toward the bio-titans. Perfect, she said with a smile. Start now. Tai Sung worked through the night studying the bio-titan tissue. What he found amazed him. Ji Woo, look at this, he called. Their cells share information somehow. Jigu looked through the microscope. Like a hive mind. Exactly. The cells talk to each other, even when separated. He showed her more data. That's why killing one bio-titan affects others nearby. The dying cells warn the others. So the more we kill, the more they all know they're in danger, finished Tai-sung. And there's something else. I found signals in these cells that must connect to their mothership. Jae-woo's eyes widened. If we could tap into those signals, we might be able to talk directly to their command, said Tai-sung. Or better yet, send our own message. In fields around the world, harvests began. But these weren't normal harvests. Farmers weren't collecting crops. They were setting them free. Rice pollen filled the air in Asia. Wheat pollen drifted across European fields. Corn tassels released their message in the Americas. The bacteria spread on the wind, carried by tiny bits of plant life too small to see but too numerous to stop. Biotitans began to slow down, then stop, then fall. First one, then 5, then dozens. Do-hyun walked through a field of barley with Sun-mi beside him. Her soldiers watched from a distance, but there was less need for protection now. No biotitans had been seen in this area for days. My family farmed this land for generations, Do-hyun said. I never thought I would be a farmer too. I wanted to live in the city, work with computers. Sun-mi smiled. Life takes strange turns. 6 months ago, I was just a soldier who had never fired a shot outside of training. They stopped at the top of a hill. From here, they could see 3 fallen biotitans in the distance. Around each one, green plants were growing in circles, like ripples in water. The farm is waking up, Do-hyun said. Earth is fighting back. Sun-mi's radio buzzed. She listened, then turned to Do-hyun with wide eyes. That was Tai-sung, she said. They've detected a signal from the Harvester mothership. It's sending a message to all biotitans. What does it say? Asked Do-hyun. Just one word, repeated over and over. Sun-mi looked at the greening fields around them. Retreat. The Harvesters did not retreat easily. Their command ship sent new orders. Burn everything. Across the world, biotitans began to change. Their bodies opened up to reveal new weapons. Blue flames shot from their sides, burning everything in sight. They're destroying the crops, General Han said, watching the footage. They know what's killing them now. How many fields are left? Asked the president. Tai-sung checked the data. About 60% of our planted areas have been burned. But the bacteria is already in the air. They can't burn that. We need to move faster, Ji-woo said, before they burn everything. Do-hyun looked through his grandfather's notebook for the 100th time. There had to be something there, some plant that could resist fire. What are you looking for? Sun-mi asked. She had just returned from a mission, her face streaked with soot. My grandfather once told me about seeds that only grow after fire, Do-hyun said. Some plants need burning to wake up. Sun-mi nodded. In soldier training, they taught us that some forests need fire to stay healthy. Do-hyun turned the pages faster. Here it is. He pointed to a drawing of a strange-looking seed. Fire grass. My grandfather got these seeds from Australia. They stay asleep until fire passes over them. World leaders gathered to hear the new plan. Operation Harvest Home, they called it. The biotitans are burning our fields, Tai-sung explained. But we can use that against them. He showed them Do-hyun's fire-resistant seeds. These plants will grow after the burning stops, and we've modified them to produce even more bacteria. But we need to buy time, added General Han. We need to hit the biotitans directly, not just wait for plants to grow. The plan was simple but dangerous. Special teams would collect bacteria from the successful fields and spray it directly onto biotitans. Like crop dusting, said the farm minister. But instead of helping plants grow, we're helping monsters die. Sun-mi's team prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. Each soldier carried tanks of liquid bacteria on their backs, like firefighters. Remember, get as close as you can before spraying, Sun-mi told them. The bacteria needs to touch their skin to work. The soldiers nodded grimly. They all understood the risk. Do-hyun surprised everyone by stepping forward. "I'm coming too." "It's too dangerous," Sunmi said. "I know these plants better than anyone," Do-hyun replied. "I should be there." Sunmi wanted to argue, but she saw the look in his eyes. The same look her soldiers had, the look of someone fighting for their home. "Stay close to me," she said. Around the world, the counterattack began. Military planes flew low over biotitans, spraying them with bacteria. Brave teams on the ground did the same, running close to the massive creatures to spray their legs. Many didn't make it back. Tae-sung and Ji-woo watched from the command center as the dots on their screen moved in toward the biotitans. Some dots disappeared. Others kept moving. "It's working," Ji-woo said, pointing to a biotitan that had stopped moving after being sprayed. "They're falling faster now." But even as she spoke, more fields burst into blue flames. The harvesters were not giving up. Sunmi's team moved through the night toward a biotitan burning fields near Seoul. The creature was massive, one of the original models, and flames shot from openings all along its sides. "The fields around it are already ash," Sunmi said, looking through her night vision goggles. "But that just makes it easier for us to get close." Her team spread out, each taking the different approach. Do-hyun stayed with Sunmi as they moved toward the biotitan's front leg. "Its weak spot is where the leg meets the body," Do-hyun said. "The skin is thinner there." They crawled through burnt stubble, keeping low. The biotitan was focused on burning a field ahead, not looking down. When they were close enough, Sunmi raised her spray tank, but before she could use it, the ground shook. The biotitan was turning toward them. "It sees us," Sunmi shouted. "Move." They ran as a blast of blue flame hit where they had just been. The heat was so intense it melted parts of their protective suits. Do-hyun stumbled and fell. The biotitan moved closer, flamethrowers pointing down. Sunmi didn't hesitate. She ran back for Do-hyun, grabbed him, and pushed him into a deep furrow in the field. Then she turned, faced the biotitan, and began spraying directly up at its body. The bacteria hit the creature's underside. It screamed a sound that shook the earth. Sunmi kept spraying until her tank was empty. The biotitan's legs began to bubble and melt where the spray had hit. It tried to move away, but its damaged leg gave out. The massive body began to tip. "Run," Sunmi yelled, pulling Do-hyun from the furrow. They ran as fast as they could, the ground shaking harder as the biotitan fell behind them. When they finally stopped and looked back, the creature lay still, its flames dying out. "One more down," Sunmi said. Do-hyun knelt and opened his backpack. He had brought the fire grass seeds. "And soon, something new will grow here." The remaining biotitans began to move with purpose. From all over the world, they walked toward one place, the Korean peninsula. "They're gathering," General Han said, looking at the satellite images. "But why here?" Tae-sung studied the data. "This area has some of our strongest resistance. More biotitans have fallen here than anywhere else." "It's a last stand," Ji-woo said quietly. "They're bringing all their forces together for one final fight." The world watched as 30 biotitans moved across oceans and land toward Korea. Some were the original giants. Others were the smaller, faster models. All were deadly. "We need to be ready," said the president. "If they all gather in one place, we might have a chance to end this." Do-hyun stood in the largest underground farm they had built. Thousands of plants grew under special lights. These weren't normal crops anymore. They had been changed to make them perfect weapons against the biotitans. "How many seeds do we have ready?" he asked the head farmer. "Enough to plant every field from here to Busan," the farmer said proudly. "And more coming in from around the world." Farmers from every country had sent their best seeds to Korea. American corn, Russian wheat, Indian rice, Brazilian beans, all had been modified by Tae-sung's team to grow fast and produce the bacteria that killed biotitans. It was Earth's combined farming knowledge, focused into one weapon. Sun Mai met with her team and hundreds of other soldiers in a large bunker. The room was packed with people ready to fight. "This will be our hardest mission," she told them. "The Bio-Titans are coming here because they know we're hurting them. They want to destroy us before we can destroy them." She showed them the plan. Teams would go out with the farmers to plant fields directly in the path of the Bio-Titans. Others would use spray tanks to hit the creatures directly. "It will be dangerous," she said. "But remember, every Bio-Titan we kill is one step closer to saving our world." Tae Sung and Ji Woo worked day and night to finish their special project. They had been studying the Bio-Titan signals for weeks, trying to understand how the creatures talk to each other and to their command ship. "I think we've got it," Ji Woo said, typing the final code into the computer. "We can send our own message into their network." "What should we say?" Ta Sung asked. Ji Woo smiled. "The truth. That Earth fights back." The Bio-Titans reached the fields outside Seoul on a clear morning. 30 monsters moving together, their footsteps shaking the ground for miles. Blue flames ready to burn everything in their path. But the fields were not empty. Every piece of land that could grow plants had been planted with the special seeds, and the crops were already growing, faster than normal plants, pushing up toward the sun. Sun Mi's soldiers were spread out across the area, hiding in ditches and behind hills. Do Hyun moved with a team of farmers, checking the crops, making sure they were ready. The first Bio-Titan stepped into a field of young wheat. The plants were only knee-high to a human, but they were ready. The moment the massive foot touched them, the plants released their pollen in a cloud that rose up around the creature's leg. The Bio-Titan screamed and pulled back, but it was too late. The bacteria were already attacking its skin. More Bio-Titans moved forward, but each field they entered fought back. Rice plants, wheat, corn, and strange crops from around the world all released their weapons when stepped on. "It's working," Do Hyun shouted into his radio. "The crops are fighting." Sun Mi's teams moved in, spraying the legs of the wounded Bio-Titans. Soldiers who had once fought with guns now fought with farm tools turned to weapons. In the command center, Tae Sung and Ji Woo activated their signal. It shot up to the Harvester command ship, breaking into their network. "This is Earth," the message said, repeating in the Harvester's own language. "Our farms are not just for food. They are our weapons. Leave our world or be destroyed." The Bio-Titans seemed confused, stopping their attack for a moment. Then, as one, they turned toward Seoul and began marching again, burning everything in their path. "They're not giving up," Sun Mai said, watching the creatures advance. Do Hyun looked at the burnt fields, then smiled. "Look closer." Where the flames had passed, new green shoots were already pushing up through the black soil. The fire grass was growing, faster than normal plants, reaching for the sun, and each new shoot carried the bacteria that killed Bio-Titans. "The more they burn," Do Hyun said, "the more we grow." The final battle for Earth had begun, not with bombs or guns, but with seeds and soil and the ancient knowledge of farmers. The battle lasted 3 days. 3 days of Bio-Titans burning and stomping and fighting. 3 days of humans planting and spraying and never giving up. On the morning of the 4th day, the last Bio-Titan fell. Do Hyun stood on a hill, looking at the massive bodies scattered across the fields. They looked like strange mountains, their black skin now covered with green spots where the bacteria had eaten through. "It's over," Sun Mai said, joining him on the hill. Her uniform was torn and dirty, but she was smiling. Above them, the Harvester command ship still hung in the sky, a dark spot against the blue. But it was moving, slowly pulling away from Earth. In the command center, Tae Sung and Ji Woo tracked the ship's movement. "They're leaving orbit," Ji Woo said, "and they're sending a signal." Tae Sung listened to the translation. "It's a warning to other harvesters. They're telling them not to come here. That Earth is too dangerous." The president smiled. "So we won. We didn't just win, Tai-sung said. We taught them to fear our farms. 1 month later, Do-hyun walked through a field that had once been dead land. Now it was alive with plants of all kinds. Some were crops for food: corn, wheat, rice. Others were wild plants that had returned on their own. And everywhere, strange new plants grew from the bodies of the fallen biotitans. As the massive creatures rotted, they became food for the soil. Death feeding new life, just as it had always been on farms. The tests came back, Sunmi said, joining him in the field. She had traded her soldier's uniform for simpler clothes. The soil is clean. No more poison. And richer than before, Do-hyun added. The biotitans make good fertilizer. They both laughed at that. After so much fear and fighting, it felt good to laugh. In Seoul, Tai-sung and Ji-woo stood before world leaders in a newly built meeting hall. The Earth Defense Farming System is now active, Tai-sung announced. We have planted sensor crops at key points around the world. If anything like the biotitans ever returns, we will know immediately. And be ready, added Ji-woo. We've stored seeds from every plant that helped us win, plus new varieties we've developed. Earth's farms are now its first line of defense. The leaders applauded. Many wore simple pins made from seeds, the new symbol of Earth's victory. 6 months after the last biotitan fell, a new ship appeared in orbit. But this one didn't drop pods or send threats. It asked permission to visit. The visitors weren't harvesters. They came from a world far away, one that had heard about Earth's victory. They came not to fight but to learn. We have fought the harvesters too, their leader told the president. We lost much of our world to them. But you found a way to beat them. We wish to trade our technology for your farming knowledge. They weren't the last visitors. More ships came from other worlds. Some brought technology. Others brought their own seeds and farming methods to share. Earth became known across the stars not for its weapons or its wars, but for its farms. For the knowledge passed down through generations of farmers who understood that the soil was alive and powerful. Do-hyun and Sunmi stood in a new field, watching the sunset. Around them, a mix of earth plants and strange crops from other worlds grew together in rows. My grandfather would never believe this, Do-hyun said, touching a blue leaf from a plant that had evolved on a planet circling a distant star. I think he would, Sunmi said. He knew farms were important. He saved those seeds because he believed in the future. In the distance, the ruins of a biotitan were now covered completely in green. Life had reclaimed it, as life always did. They thought our farms made us weak, Do-hyun said. They didn't understand that growing food takes strength. It takes patience and wisdom and hard work. Sunmi took his hand. They know now. They all know. Above them, stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Some of those points of light had planets circling them. Planets where people looked toward Earth with hope and respect. They had come for our farms. They left as our fertilizer. And in their place came friends who understood what the harvesters never could, that those who grow food know the deepest secrets of life itself. The end.